Seeing Beyond, Living Transformed is a spiritual crossing of the threshold to the world of being a truly expanded human being. Join mediums Cheryl and Kelley for conversations about discovering deep spirituality, developing your intuitive and empathic skills, and personal mediumship. Each episode will focus on tips, tools, and techniques to help you understand and expand your own inner gifts of life journey. Now, your host of Seeing Beyond, Living Transformed, Kelley and Cheryl.
Hello and welcome everyone to Seeing Beyond Living Transformed. Welcome. You are joining us on a special night tonight where the stars are here with us this evening. The Stars and Beyond is the name of our show. We're going to have a Master Evolutionary Astrologist on. Her name is Laurie St Clare and she's with us tonight. We're very honored to have her. But first, I do want to say hi to my colleague, Kelley Eckhart. Hello, Kelley. How are you this evening?
Cheryl, I'm great.
It's great to see you, Kelley. You always look great. And we just want to say hi to Todd, our producer, who's behind the scenes at WLTK. Also, Brianna, we feel that she's our third co-host as well. She works behind the scenes to post our links, make us look good, really filter your questions that are coming through. So if you do have some questions, type in the comment section as we move through our evening. And also you can email us a question, seeingbeyondradio.com. So email your questions there or type them in the comments section below. So let me take a moment and just tell you that tonight is a special night. We've had Laurie St Clare on before, and it's always a treat to have her on because she has some amazing information every month on her Facebook page, but also on her website about what's happening in the stars and what's happening this month and the new moon and the full moon. And like right now, she's talking about Venus Mercury retrograde. So I just want to ask Laurie St Clare to come on and just, hi, Laurie, tell us about you and what's an evolutionary astrologist too. So,
hi, Cheryl. And Kelley, good to be here. Good to see you guys again. I just so enjoy chatting with you. Evolutionary astrology, it's very much for people's empowerment, evolutionary, so about your personal evolution. And it's not super predictive. Astrology is just very predictive. This is going to happen. That's going to happen on this day. And I do some of that, but really the evolutionary astrology focuses on giving you information to empower you to make the best decisions possible with the prevailing energy and, evolve into your spiritual growth. We also really focus on the north and south node of the moon, which has to do with past life and things that you've done before, which can be good because we get good at things. And then it can also be not so great because they can be ruts and bad habits that we get into. And I look at that and then I talk to you about what you've chosen to come into this life and develop and focus on. And, I have never had anyone who did not subscribe to reincarnation. But if you don't and you're out there, it has been proven scientifically that, genetically things are passed down and, traumas and things like that. So if you want to look at it that way, that's another way to look at it.
that's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
I love that reincarnation because I know I was reincarnated and I know I've chosen to come back here too many times.
Yeah. Well, it's all for learning. It is all for learning. And I like to emphasize that too, because obviously we have people in our lives and I always say, no one's good, no one's bad. Everybody's here for a lesson. So
It's true. Yeah.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Because I love coming back, but it's hard, it's tough. So, but it definitely is for learning, right?
Yeah, it really is. And that's one of the things that I love about astrology, because it gives you an idea of how to navigate better through the difficulties, how to make things less quote unquote painful. And also in relationships, looking at your chart with somebody else's and where you might have difficulty and how you can come together and better understand each other. So astrology is such an amazing tool.
I think it's fascinating. I knew that my son's child psychologist, when he was little, she ran his natal chart.
Oh,
Works with any child. She does that.
yeah. That's
And
fantastic.
Yeah, because she wants to understand the child all the way. And I love that. That's part of the reason why I chose her.
Yeah. I so admire that, because, sometimes, astrology gets a bad rap, and it's so funny because historically
accurate. It's so, how could you deny the accuracy of the astrology and all of the way things are? I mean, it's so accurate.
I know. My mentor used to say, it's never the astrology that's wrong, it's the astrologer.
Well, even if you just run the chart
Mm-hmm.
on one of those computer things and you read your report, it's still so accurate. And it's not a person. It's just like based on the,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all, mathematical. It's all relationship based. And, it's been around for quite a while for a good reason, right?
Yeah, exactly. So many things have that we've ignored. But yes, in our society, I mean, they ignore, holistic type medicine, but it's been around forever. That was the first medicine.
Definitely. And especially in Western society, they ignore, they don't give as much credence to holistic medicine, but they're starting to, which is great.
They are. Yes, they are. And that's true.
Yeah.
I have a pediatrician who was also a full-fledged holistic neuropath. What do you call that?
Naturopath.
Naturopath. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Before he did any prescription, he prescribed me a natural remedy when Aiden was little. And
Great.
that didn't work. Then we went to the antibiotics,
Right. That's fantastic. And, there's a whole, gosh, I can't think of the word, division of astrology, which is medical astrology. And people, train and just to do medical astrology, which is, it's fantastic. Absolutely. Especially if you're getting surgery. It used to be back in the day, you would be fined, like in England, if you did surgery on the wrong phase of the moon. And people don't know this. If you're having surgery, you don't want to have it when the moon is waxing or near the full moon, because because you can bleed more. And so you want to have it where the moon is new, because the blood volume is lower. So there's lots of things to learn about that, even just the very basics for having a surgery. Yeah.
Maybe that's why people get hot-headed around a full moon, because they have more blood going on. I don't know.
That is great. That's great. Oh my gosh. Well, lunatic, right? The moon. Yeah. It brings up the emotions, and people like to be, hidden. So
statistically, the hospitals are just absolutely crazy on full moon nights. I mean, that's and so are the police.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
I can just tell you that ever since I can remember, never been able to sleep on a full moon. I have so much energy.
Oh,
I'm creative, and I'm so connected to the spirit world that I love doing events on a full moon.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like I'm a superstar, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny. I mean, you'd think after all these years that I would remember you can never sleep on a full moon, and I'll be laying awake and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a couple days before the full moon.
Right. It's like 3 days before the full moon and 3 days after.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And Brianna just brought up in the back here, gardening on the moon, with the moon as well.
Oh, absolutely. The whole Farmer's Almanac is it's all based on the phases of the moon.
Right?
Yeah, you want to, yeah.
Anybody deny astrology? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
It is so scientific to me.
Yeah.
scientific. There's so much to back it up. It's so accurate. I mean, I've always loved astrology. I don't know if I ever told you the story, but when I was a little girl, I was obsessed with reading my astrology, starting as early as before I could even read. I'd make my mom put a quarter in the machine and get me the astrology thing.
Yep.
She would read it because we're both Libras, and then she'd read it to me, and I had to like use that for the plan my month out. But January 1st, I didn't sleep all night because I was so excited to get the year one, right?
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And I wanted to read the whole year, and I'm
Right.
talking like this is as early as 5, 6 years old. I would
Yeah.
read the whole thing, and then I would stay up for days just planning out my year, what I was going to do.
Well, they
Oh
had
my
these,
God.
they had these magazines where my mom every year, she's a Scorpio, I'm a Taurus. She would buy the yearly magazine of who you're compatible with, right? So
Oh,
I
right.
was reading who am
Right.
I compatible with, and how
Right.
does all this work? How do we figure this out?
Absolutely. You know, I know Del Horoscope, you know, they've been around forever.
All the magazines. What was the magazine when I was a kid growing up? It was like Cosmo. They
Maybe,
always had
right?
the horoscope
Cosmo?
or the Red Book or one of those. My mom always bought these
Oh,
magazines, and they had horoscopes in them every month.
Oh, I mean, you mean just the regular magazines?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all of them. They all have horoscopes. Absolutely.
And my mom always got them, and I would read those too. I obsessively read my horoscope all the way till probably my 30s. And then I kind of was like, okay, I don't need that. I know what's going on. Like, you know, I started trusting
Yeah.
myself.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such an important thing. That's why I love to do the type of astrology that I do, because it's about helping people, especially, you know, when they're going through transitions, you know, it's like a check-in. It's not about telling you what to do, because
Right.
that doesn't help anybody.
Cool.
You know?
And they're going to blame you if they did it and it didn't work the way they thought.
Oh, absolutely. You know, perfect example. I had a woman call me to schedule a reading, and she says, you know, I'm thinking about moving in with my sister, and I want to know. And I said, well, you know, I can, if it's okay with your sister, I can look at your chart and her chart, and I can tell you the pros and the cons. And she says, oh, you're not going to tell me what to do? And
Oh,
I said, no. I said, you have to make your own decision based on the information.
I don't
Yeah.
the future. I provide information so they can make decisions.
Absolutely. You know, evolutionary astrology, one of the taglines is, you know, freedom and free will, because that's
Correct.
exactly, that's what we're here for, is to, you know, develop our free will. And as you guys know, especially trust your intuition.
Well,
So
this is a thing about you, Laurie, is not only are you an evolutionary astrologist and a master one at that, I can attest to, because I've had a wonderful reading with
Me
you, and
too.
you have, Kelley. You are
Yes.
so great about sharing with me just the family dynamics of each of me and my family members. I mean, it really was incredible. And I want to say, not only are you that amazing astrologer, but you're also an intuitive, you're a medium
yeah,
in your own right. So, right,
yep.
Kelley? So, I mean, that add that in to a reading with Laurie, and
It's
it's
amazing. It's
pretty
just
well-rounded there.
it is I had a reading with Laurie. We did a trade once.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was amazing, and it was what I really needed, and it was so accurate.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, exactly. And I so appreciate it.
You brought through my son too.
See, and
I needed to hear from him.
and that's the thing that's so amazing. That's why I love doing it, because my intention is always for whatever the person needs, not what I need. It's not about getting an ego gratification. It's about the client is coming for a reason. They have a need. And as you know, with mediumship, same thing. Psychic readings, person is coming with a need. And so it's great. It's so beautiful to do it. And it's so funny too, when the mediumship happens with the astrology, is sometimes I can't get going on a reading. Like I can't prepare ahead of time. And then I'll be like, all right. And I have to sit down and see who's trying to come in.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I had that just a little bit ago, and it was someone's father. And I sat and I got, you know, and wrote it down. And then I talked to her before we started, and she needed it. And it was part of the healing. So it was great.
You just kind of let it go the way it goes.
Exactly.
You know, when Brianna is learning about astrology and all of that, and I remember I reached out to you because I wanted you to mentor her, but you don't mentor.
Not yet.
You let us know, because Brianna,
Oh, absolutely. And I have to tell you, I know I have to start teaching because that was one of the
Yes,
things that I promised my mentor. She
yes,
made me promise before she
you're
passed.
ready. You're
So
ready.
she,
You need to start spreading your knowledge.
Yes, you have 3 signups already. Me,
Yes,
Kelley, and Brianna. You
yes,
are.
great.
But so
Uh,
for everyone, lauriestclaire.com is her mailing address, I mean, her email address, but also she does great live videos, Laurie, on Facebook,
all
our
the
YouTube as well, perhaps. But so you're doing private readings. That's what you're doing right now through Zoom or
yeah.
phone. Is that right? Or
Yeah. I do it on Zoom. I do it on the phone.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Terrific. It's just great. Well, really, I mean, I can't encourage people enough because how you've helped me is you've brought it down to earth and made it simple so I can understand it. Because sometimes astrology kind of gets away from me, I'll just say.
Well, me
Uh,
too. When I look at that circle and all those, I'm like,
Absolutely. I've heard that a lot, and that's one of the most important things when you're doing astrology is to make it so a non-astrologer can
hmm,
understand.
oh my
Otherwise, it's not
gosh.
useful.
Yeah, it's not
So,
useful. And
yeah.
I've
we
learned
just
so
shared your
much.
YouTube too. Just I want
Oh,
everybody to see
good.
below her YouTube. It should be in the comments.
Hmm.
Thank you. Thank
Yes, and
you.
her mailing list is lauriestclaire.com. And I mean, I have more questions to ask, but
Yeah.
Kelley, do you have a question? I just want to jump in. I'm going to ask Laurie about Venus retrograde when we
Well, I
get
have
there.
a question about
Sure.
families.
About what?
About families,
Okay.
because
Families.
my son passed, and I think we touched on this in my reading. There was something very unique about my son RJ's, and I don't know if you did this part, but when he was born, his chart was almost identical, like to everything to his father.
Mm,
But their
Right.
birthdays were totally different. His father's a Gemini, he was a Cancer.
Hmm.
But the stars were like almost identical. It was like 90% like exact. And then when you read about like, the every 7-year mark, all of
Yeah.
that was like so close as well. And I was fascinated by that. And
Exactly.
I think
Yep.
we talked about that, and I just wanted to know like your opinion on like how like what you think about that. Like, why did that happen, do you think?
Well, in my belief and probably your belief, we choose our parents. We choose, we sit with our guides before we come in,
Mhm.
and obviously we're born at a certain time and certain place, and that's what I always need to do someone's chart is the time, the place, and the date because that's the signature. It's like coordinates for a
Right,
destination. If you're flying somewhere, you got to put in the coordinates. Same thing if you're taking a boat, but it's the same thing for our life journey.
mhm,
And family dynamics are fascinating. Exactly. When
right.
you get the charts together of
Oh my
families,
gosh, yeah.
it's funny, like in my own family, everyone in my family has planets at the degree 21 degrees. Might not be the same,
Right, but
sign,
the
but
numbers, yeah.
exactly. But there's always similarities. And like you said, with RJ and his dad, so when the transits happen, see, that's one of the things.
Mhm.
The events will be happening at the same time because they're hitting those points at the
Yeah,
same time.
fascinating.
And yeah, and that's why you have these things happening in the families together. So
Well,
um go
one
ahead,
other
sorry.
thing on that is that, he was born on a Saturday night
Mhm.
at 7:22 p.m. on 7/22, right? I'm all about numbers too.
Right.
And I went into preterm labor for 5 weeks before he was born, and he was 5
mm,
weeks early. And
mm.
every night I went into preterm labor, I was at the ER every Saturday night at 7 o'clock. I started this preterm labor, and he waited till 7:22, the date, and he was born at 7:22 p.m. He
Wow.
passed on a Saturday, but now it's like May 7th, right? But
Right.
the coroner said it was between 7 and 8 a.m. And I just thought that was like fascinating. And I
It
felt like,
is.
and then when I ran his report when he was little, the lady who did this report and did my ex-husband's, she had talked about exit points.
Right.
And she had said there was an exit point for him at 18, 22. So he passed at 20. She was a little bit off, but I think it was still within the thing.
Right.
or later in life, and then his dad's exit was in his 50s,
Right.
and that's exactly when they
Wow.
fascinating.
That is
Yeah,
fascinating.
it is. It's funny because a lot of astrologers are like, they don't want to touch, the
Right.
whole thing about, when a person might pass. But the thing
My
is,
sister.
there are yeah. And, just like psychic and medium, stuff freaks people out, and that's
Yeah.
fine,
I would never do that in a reading either, but this is
but
before I developed.
right.
And my sister and I were messing around with it, and she's like a part-time astrologer.
Yeah, but the thing is I can see, and especially if someone is ill, terminally ill, you can look and you can see when someone might pass, or, it doesn't have to be that they're ill, but certain
something
people, certain people can come in with signatures of, a type of chart that is more volatile, and you can see when a particular transit might hit that point, and they could have an accident or they could exit, and it's just, you never know. And also, it could be that they have a near-death experience, or they have some type of death.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating stuff. I mean, I love the way well, at the time I was all disturbed, but she talked about like him getting arrested when he was a teenager. And she's telling me all this when he's like 2 years old, or
Oh no. Okay.
a year old, right? And we're like, this is my family, right? We're just so open. We're like, oh my God, look at this chart. Like, this poor kid, like, we got to watch him. So like, at the point she said he was going to get arrested, that's exactly when he got arrested. I mean, it was like, we just were like I'm fascinated by it all.
Yeah. See, it's funny. Sorry. Just on that. See, I find that very interesting because that's not the type of astrology I do as much. See, yeah, I would, but
playing around.
Yeah, but that's totally fascinating to me. I mean, obviously, I love all this stuff, but it's so interesting. And also, that is one of the things about going to different people is people will have a different focus, a different experience. But yeah, it's all amazing. But I'm going to have to do this. My pet peeve thing though, is please, if you're going to an astrologer, please make sure that they know astrology, that they have actually spent some time, they've actually been educated, they haven't just gone to a weekend thing, or, I've literally heard someone calling themselves an astrologer and they're like, oh yeah, my mom was an astrologer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, great. I'm glad your mom wasn't a surgeon, and so anyways, so
I would never call myself that. I love astrology, but I know nothing. I just know how to run reports. I was like,
all right. Before we get to Venus, we get to Venus retrograde, we do have a couple of great questions that Brianna pointed out. So
fantastic.
Can you see the Joe West question says, I'm curious, Laurie, does astrology affect your organs, or can you help someone about health issues with your astrology? Or
oh, for sure. Like, I am not trained as a medical astrologer, but there, every organ relates to a particular sign. You can look at the chart, even with just basic knowledge. Like, if you have Venus squared Jupiter, you're going to be a person that, will have to watch out for excess sugar, excess anything, because those are two planets that enjoy the pleasures of life and they like to make them big. So things like that, you can just look at that. Also, a lot of fixed signs can tend to hold. And so you might have like things like MS, or you have to watch out for heart attacks. It just depends on the setup. And then, looking at the whole chart, there are definitely ways that you can get some good information to help you avoid things and enhance things.
Yeah.
So thanks for that question, Joe. Thanks for answering, and thanks, Brianna, for sharing with us. Before we get away from this, I do have to ask Laurie, like, what's happening now? Like, what about this Venus retrograde? Is that what we call it? And what do we need to prepare for, or what do we need to be excited about?
Okay, so it's funny because Kelly's a Libra. And hey, look, and you're a Taurus. There you go. So both of you ladies, and everyone who is actually, so Libra and Taurus are both signs that are ruled by the planet Venus. And
yes.
so when any planet goes retrograde, it's about going within and like really contemplating on that energy, on that archetype, and internalizing that energy. It's like the energy is turned inward.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so we're already in what's called the shadow period. So that means that Venus is already slowing down. It's already got to the point, the degree of after it retrogrades when it goes direct. So there's a shadow period before, and then it retrogrades, shadow period after. And so people are already feeling this. It actually goes retrograde on July 22nd. And
Oh my
it's,
gosh.
yeah.
That's his birthday.
It's whose birthday?
My son in spirit. That's his birthday.
Oh, he is so present tonight. Oh my God. That's so funny. And, and especially, I mean, I know you're always talking about him, always missing him. And it's so interesting that it's going retrograde on that day because it's about love. Like you said, Venus is the planet of love. Traditionally, relationships, what we appreciate, how we relate to others, what we want to share, but it's also about our own creativity, art. It's about our self-esteem and our values. There are some other things that people don't think about with Venus. Now, I love, okay, so you guys are a great example because you're the Libra. Now, ruled by Venus, Libra is an air sign. And so it's much more about the idea of beauty and the relating and the sharing and the connecting that way. Whereas Cheryl's a Taurus, which is earth. It's that practical thing, that tangible, often Taurus, it's about all the sensual things. How does it taste? How does it smell? How does it feel? And it can be very much about just enjoying pleasure in that way, like the physicality. My moon is in Taurus, so love all that stuff as well. Now, when Venus goes retrograde, it's a time where everyone starts to look at their relationships. Are they happy with their relationships? Venus goes retrograde in the sign of Leo at 28 degrees. Now, it's funny because I was thinking about this today, is kind of like Mercury retrograde. People can show up from the past, like old relationships, old loves, and usually it's to remind you, oh yeah, that's why we're not together anymore.
How far I've moved on.
Exactly. And so, but it can be where they come back up to, you tie up loose ends, maybe you make amends. And that's an important aspect, to just be prepared for that. But especially being in Leo is looking at the heart. Like, am I coming from my heart? What has been blocking me from being truly loving and letting my heart, be romantic, be creative? Am I creating from my heart? Am I creating from this place of I'm worried about what everybody else is gonna think? Because Leo can get into I need applause, I need admiration, and it can get kind of in the ego. And so because Venus is retrograde, we have to watch out for where are you being really stubborn in relationships? Where are you getting not me, I mean, I'm just, this is theoretical. And also just and also maybe being stubborn with letting love out and letting yourself shine and letting yourself have the joy of romance. You know, we're going to be revisiting how can we bring romance back into our lives and play and fun. And so, okay, do either one of you guys have a question? Because I just want to make sure I'm not talking over you.
Oh,
Yeah.
there is a question, but we'll wait till you're done. I love this.
Okay, great. And so it's funny because you know, I was saying I had a sinus infection last week, and it was so funny because I wasn't planning on doing this, and I was at the acupuncturist, and she goes, "Oh, I don't want to put anything around your eye because you could get a bruise." And I'm like, "I don't care, put it on." And I got this bruise, and there it is somewhere here.
And can't see it.
Well, it's so funny because I'm thinking, oh, this is perfect. Like now I'm going to be on camera and talking about Venus retrograde and how we're like, oh, worried about what are going to people think about the way I look, and you know, am I going to be a good approval or disapproval, or and how that limits us.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
really
absolutely.
It does.
So yeah. So okay. No, sorry. I just saw
question. Let's put a question up there.
I just saw Jose. Look at I just saw Jose put, so is Venus in retrograde? Is it a good time to start or look for a relationship? Not necessarily. You know, whenever any planet is retrograde, especially like Mercury, it's not great to sign contracts. But when Venus is retrograde, it's good to go within and look at, you know, your previous relationships. How have they been working? You know, what was good about them? What was not so good about them? What do I want to manifest in a new relationship? And also, if you're currently in a relationship, is it satisfying? Is it what you want? And what can you do to make it the way that you would like? And of course, every relationship is in your own head. You know, you're the one having the experience of the relationship. And so it's so important to get good with yourself. So that first relationship, it's going to be a lot about how do you love yourself? How do you feel about yourself? What are your values? You know, what do you bring to the table? And, you know, how do you let yourself be loved? Or, you know, do you always want to control everything? And so to look for a relationship, it's not necessarily the best time. It's a better time to get ready for a new relationship after Venus goes direct. It's like cleaning out the relationship space. You know, a lot of times people are hanging on to regret, they're hanging on to resentment, they're hanging on to guilt, woulda, coulda, shouldas. I mean, you guys are mediums, and I was thinking a lot about this today. No one has ever come through in a mediumship reading going, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have told people that I love them so much.
Truly.
It's always, I wish I would have expressed myself. I wish I would have been more loving. I wish I would have, because there's so much fear around the vulnerability, which is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So Jose was actually asking a really good question then for a lot of us is not so much first off, when does retrograde again and when does it end for Venus?
Okay, so we're already in the shadows, so people are already kind of starting to think about this.
Start the shadow.
That's a good question. June 19th. How about that? I'm glad I have that information ready. And so it goes retrograde July 22nd, and it's at 28 degrees Leo. And especially, okay, so you guys are ruled by Venus, Libra, Taurus. So it's going to be more significant to the signs that are ruled by Venus. But also, if you have any planets near those degrees in Leo from 28 to 12, because it goes 28 and then it goes backwards through Leo. My Jupiter, it's going to go retrograde right on my Jupiter in the third house. And it goes direct September 3rd.
Mm.
And then it comes out of the shadow period on the first week, the second week of October, the beginning of the second week of October.
That's a long time, Laura.
Yeah, it's not like Mercury retrograde. It's a long time because it doesn't go retrograde as often as Mercury retrograde. So it's more of a big deal.
Yeah.
And as well, and I hope it's not too confusing, but in the sky, the nodes of the moon for everybody, evolutionary wise, is what everybody's learning on a mass consciousness scale. We have our own birth chart, and then we have our own nodes of the moon, and that's our own personal lesson.
Yeah.
So right when Venus is going retrograde, the north and south nodes of the moon switch signs. And Venus is going to be ruling the south node in Libra. And so we have to really look at, again, more of kind of the negative behaviors of the Leo, and maybe being obstinate, maybe being selfish, that kind of thing. And not saying, that's what everybody does, but yeah.
It happens. Well, Cynthia had a question that I think you touched on, but I just wanted to bring it up just in case. She says, as a Libra during Venus retrograde, is it then a good time to make decisions, or possibly better to reflect more within and wait until retrograde is over to decide? And after hearing you say how long it is, I wonder if you're gonna have to make decisions, right?
Yeah. The thing is, we have life, you got to live your life. If there are decisions that, you can put off, that's great. But sometimes during these periods, we do have to make decisions. And maybe it is the time where you realize, you know what, I do need to end this relationship, and maybe because you realize something comes around. Or maybe it's where you look at, wow, I haven't been spending enough time for my own self-love and my own self-esteem and putting in the energy that I need for myself. And so you start to make decisions about, you know what, I need to get rid of all these old clothes, especially Leo stuff. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I got rid of more than half my wardrobe.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
That's very much a Venus, and especially in Leo, it's like, how do I look? And that's great. That's kind of a general thing. Or maybe people are like, I want to get back in better shape. I want to be more attractive.
And that too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's great, because that's self-care, that's self-love, and it helps you to shine, because that's what Leo, the most beautiful thing about Leo is its ability to attract, because it's a light, it's a leader, it has charisma. And so, we need to revisit where we've lost our shine.
Right.
And so you know what? You might need to make decisions. I do want to say, if you have one of the things when Venus is retrograde, it's not the best time to make a big purchase, but it is a good time to sell something, because you can get more money than it's worth. So
I like that.
I like that too.
Just a little FYI. So there you go.
What can I sell? No.
Yourself. No, just kidding. I know. Totally kidding. You know what? But that's the thing. We are, Venus is.
She must have been the date when it's again.
It goes direct on September 3rd at 12 degrees of Leo, but it will be out of its shadow period in the second week of October. So it'll still be moving kind of slow till it gets back up to speed. So it's not like, nothing is, cut and just that's it. Start, So yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure.
That was fascinating.
May I ask a question, guys? Laurie, what do you like the most about evolutionary astrology? Like what?
Oh my God.
What do you? I mean, like
What's your favorite part?
What are the most popular questions people come to you with on why they want a reading with you? Like what do you help people most with, I guess?
Oh,
is it relationship? Is it financial? Is it health? Is it
it's
location?
always major life transition.
Major life
Like
transition.
people come to me when they maybe need to leave their marriage, they want to move, they want to get a new job, and also that's usually when people come to me. But they can, those are usually the first visits.
Right.
And then they'll come, as things are progressing. It's funny. I was just telling somebody one of the coolest things. I had this woman years ago, and she had a reading with me, and she looked at me and she said, "You could have just saved me 13 years of therapy."
Oh.
and I'm not saying people shouldn't go for therapy,
right.
But it's the thing about, you need
part
to
of the journey, though.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe she wouldn't have been ready for what I had to say had she not had those years of therapy.
Yeah.
So, you never know. And always people come to me. It's always fascinating because there's always something in their chart at the time they come that is connecting to my chart, either natally or through progression. So that's always a fascinating thing. Yeah.
That's like with readings. I feel like the people that come to me, we have such I get a lot of moms who've lost, children, sons,
absolutely,
mostly sons, but daughters too.
Yeah,
I get a lot of people have alcoholic fathers, and all these similarities to me. And I think there's a reason for that.
Oh, definitely,
it's part of my journey, and it's part of like my reason I was here.
Right, absolutely, because all of our experiences are teaching us, how we can help other people that are going through the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, hello, Jessica Nicole. She's one of my students. And
oh, great. Fantastic.
Now she's also an amazing psychic and medium, and she just had a baby.
Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's so sorry.
I just love when people have babies. I get so excited. I think I'm a baby lover.
Oh.
All right. Well, that's funny. That's lovely that you're a baby lover.
So it's everybody's baby. I just want
to be in her chart or in the stars. That can be part of her whole.
You know what? Okay, Cheryl, I just have to say,
I learned something.
Oh, definitely. Because you're psychic and you're making me laugh because literally I am not a baby lover. If you've ever seen what is that, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they hand her the baby and she's like this.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And sister-in-law.
Yeah. See, that's me. And if you look at my chart, when I really got into especially evolutionary astrology, and I laughed because my South Node, like what I've done before, is in the house of children. Oh. And so I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm good, not again.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty sure I was born to be a mom.
That's great.
Yeah,
most people know that. Yeah.
But I felt it since I was a kid. Like I couldn't wait to be it was always wanted just to be a mom, but that wasn't all I wanted to do. But I knew that I was going to be this mom.
Right.
And that's another thing that Kelley, you're mentioning about how wonderful, evolutionary astrology is. And it's like it talks about your personality and, about how you are as a person and what's great. And so it's kind of validation, when I got a reading with Laurie or it's validation. It's like, yeah, that's why I'm like this, or that's why I love humor, or that's why I love going out on the full moon. It tells about it's really a conversation about who you are, maybe where you're going. If you have any bumps in the road, things are going to be smoothing out. Right. Or, doors are going to be opening at this time of year. So, be on the lookout. So it's kind of a yearly plan, I guess, right? Or a way to look at your life and really be excited about it and know that it's not all, it's kind of in the stars. It's kind of an energy. It's an energy conversation, I guess, is what.
Oh, absolutely, Cheryl. I'm so glad that you said that. It is an energy conversation. The planets, it is an energy. And it's very much like you said, the validation. That's when, Kelley, you were asking me that, or maybe it was you, Cheryl, sorry, about like, what is one of the things that I enjoy the most? And one of the most often things that I hear the most often is, oh my God, so I'm not crazy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And it's exactly validation. People feel seen. And in this day and age, it's so hard for people to just sit down and see each other, to listen and to be heard. And that's one of the things that I just love, is it gives me this insight into who this person is really quick and really easy, and to help them validate who they are, why they're here, and encourage them, because as you know, it has not been easy, especially these last several years.
So in some way, the stars have your back, right? The
Yes.
stars have your
Yes.
back, and
Yeah.
it's a way to kind of navigate your way to really reaching your highest potential, or
Yes.
realizing that the opportunities are there for you to reach your highest potential.
Absolutely. You crack me up.
Knowing when to take a step back.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And just, because that's a really good point, Kelley, because I've said to some people sometimes, especially if they're going through a big Neptune transit, I'll say, listen, you shouldn't yet. You don't have clarity, and that's totally fine, because you're in the middle of something. You're not going to get really good clarity until this time period. And it can be frustrating, but it's good to know, like, okay, there's an end point. And Cheryl, just like you were saying about how it's exciting, and I laugh at myself sometimes, because I get really excited for the person, even though they're like pulling their hair out about their life. And I'm like, no, it's exciting. and I try to not get too excited, because, you have to be present with where they're at.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple good questions in the comments that I wanted to touch on, that somebody asked. So Angie Webb said, how will Venus retrograde affect Capricorn?
That's a great question from Capricorn.
I'm for this because she's a Capricorn too.
Specifically, you'd have to especially look at where it's going retrograde in your own chart. Depending, like if you're a late degree of Capricorn, born towards the end of the sign of Capricorn, that's going to be making an aspect called a quincunx, which that aspect cracks me up, because it's exactly how it sounds. It's not easy. It's an adjustment. And so it can be a time where it's a little bit more of a hiccup for you, but it's important, if you look at your own chart, to look at where Venus goes retrograde. So wherever Leo is in the chart, and it might be between two houses. And, the houses are the areas of life. And so for Capricorn, I'd say, okay, look to the houses, of where it's retrograding in your chart. And that's going to be significant to what's coming up in your life, to the area. And for anybody, not just Capricorn, but really for everybody, at where in your own chart, the Leo is.
Okay. Well, thank you. And then there was the other question from Joanne, who says, is anything else going retro this year?
Oh, definitely. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but Mercury will retrograde again. And I actually think right when it might be the day of that Venus goes direct, that Jupiter is going to go retrograde.
Oh boy.
So let me just check. Jupiter will go retrograde right around the time that Venus is going direct, and Jupiter's going to go retrograde in the sign of Taurus. And, Saturn is already retrograde. And so, the outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, they're retrograde for a long period of time during the year. And some people, they really emphasize that. I think people are making more of a big deal than it is. But what's most important is, especially the outer planets, the Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, is the days before, the day of, and the day after that they retrograde or go direct are really intense. They're really when things happen. You really feel the energy. It's not so much about the period that they're retrograde, unless it's hitting a particular planet in your own chart.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look, we still have some time left, and Laurie, don't go anywhere, because I want to ask you about Mars, because so everyone stay tuned. We're going to go to Mars next, but I first want to give everyone Laurie's website, which is lauriestclaire.com. Please sign up for her mailing list. Join her on Facebook and YouTube. She does wonderful live comments each month about, what's happening in our planet system. So please, everyone, if you haven't met Laurie, know that Kelley and I work with Laurie. We go to her for readings, and we just it's just an amazing validation and really insightful journey that I'm still learning from. I'm so glad I kept my notes, because I still look back on them.
You're good.
I'm so glad.
Well, before we get to Mars, though, Laurie, I do want to tell everyone about Kelley's running a special right now. Kelley, can you mention that, and then tell us about your Egypt trip too?
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, I have a special for the first 10 people that want to book a reading with me. It's only for 24 hours. I'm giving 30% off, and the code is Seeing Beyond. So when you go to my website, it's good for my 25-minute reading. You could use it also for a family reading, and you could use it for any of my mentorships that I have up right now. And 30% is a lot. So
no kidding.
Check it out. And it's just for 24 hours, and it's the first 10 people. The code is not going to be good after well, it's really like a day and a half, so it won't be good after tomorrow. How's that? Tomorrow night at midnight. So check it out. And thanks, Brianna, she put it up there for me. And again, the code Seeing Beyond. So if you're interested in booking a reading, I have that special going on for just my viewers today.
That's wonderful, Kelley. That's great.
And Egypt, we have 8 slots left.
Oh, great.
We have 17 people going already. It's going to be an amazing trip. And if you have ever wanted to go to Egypt, or curious about Egypt, but wanted to go with like-minded people, you should check this trip out. It's on my website. You could just go to mediumkelly.com/Egypt. Oh, thank you, Brianna. And it's going to be an amazing trip. We're going to do so many things. It's 12 days, 11 nights. We're going to go into private time in the Sphinx, and in the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber. I'm going to be with Jules Davis, who's an amazing psychic medium and healer, and you know her, Laurie.
Yep.
And she's going to do a full moon activation on one night. There's going to be we're going to do some past life readings in the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and in the Sphinx. So we're going to do like readings for everybody, kind of like fun little quick readings inside when we're at our private time during that. And we're just going to see some amazing things. So just check it out.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy. Yeah. And then just quickly for my events coming up, I do have my Circle of Love, small group reading events, which sell out every month. My next one is scheduled for July 11th. Please join me then. You can find out about my tickets through my website on my events page. And thanks, Brianna, for posting that. That's July 11th. But before that, on July 8th, I'll be with Kimberly Meredith doing a Mother Mary matrix. It's a meditation and healing, and we'll be doing readings during that event. So it's really kind of a special, very unique event, and that's through donation only. So we always appreciate you joining us on July 8th. That's a Saturday afternoon. And then finally, on July 17th, I will be with Suzanne Northrup, who is just such a sweet medium and so much fun to work with. She and I are doing online readings. And once again, you can check out that information. Thanks, Brianna, for posting that link, and also on my events page, mediumcheryl.com. So we still have time. Ladies, before we go, Laurie, Mars, tell us about Mars. I mean, I know we only have a few moments, but it sounds like it's another big event that's happening or that's with us right now. Is that right?
Well, it's been happening, especially,
happening.
yeah. Mars is in Leo, and the planet Uranus is in Taurus, and they've been in a square aspect. So people, I'm sure, have already experienced, people are very impatient right now. They're very explosive right now. And then we also had Mercury squaring Neptune on Sunday. So Sunday was really a tough day, but especially, this week, and just to be patient, to take your time driving, to, look out for people, because people are just, when Mars and Uranus come together like that, it's just, it could be explosive. So it's important to, stay out of fights, don't get triggered. Yeah, I was telling Kelley and Cheryl beforehand, I heard somebody yelling in the grocery store and calling someone some names, and just the other night, it was
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah.
It's funny. I've noticed my son's learning to drive, and
Mhm.
Oh, that's
he's
right.
I've been having him drive everywhere, and I have noticed in the last week, people have been more. We have students.
Aggressive.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
Yes.
driver signs on the car so that people know
yeah,
he's learning to drive. Right?
yeah,
Magnets all around the car. I don't want everybody to know.
yeah.
And people have been way more aggressive and like speeding past and cutting them off, and it's very stressful for a young driver. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, they're more aggressive than normal.
Yes,
How would explain it?
very much so. Much more aggressive, much more, and especially, because the Mars is in Leo, it can be entitled, and that kind of thing. And people just, anyways, as you know, just
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
experiencing it. Yeah.
I am. I mean, I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And
Scary.
so I'm just going to look really quick to see when Mars goes into Virgo, which is uh, looks like July 12th, if my eyeballs are right. And so, that's going to be a much different energy when Mars goes into Virgo. It's going to tone it down a lot. It's going to be a lot more, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that
So
would be nice. That's
absolutely,
in a couple
right?
weeks, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he's taking his next behind the wheel test on July 12th.
Oh, funny. Well, good. Should be
He
better. Yeah.
didn't do so well the first time.
Well, it's
So,
nerve-wracking.
yeah, he was nervous.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So Laurie, let me just don't mean to change that.
No, you go
I
ahead.
just want to ask you, because I'm like, I need a reading. Like, I mean,
I know, me too.
right, Kelley? Like, how often can people see you, or what do you recommend, or how do we like?
It really depends.
Yes.
Sometimes people are going through stuff, and it's almost like, it's like spiritual counseling. Maybe you need to come in once a month for like 3 or 4 months, or maybe you get a yearly reading, or maybe you come in every 3 or 4 months. It
Right,
just really
right.
depends on, because sometimes people are going through major transitions,
Yeah,
and
I
they
can
need
see that.
extra support, and things are changing and shifting so much.
Mhm.
But definitely at least once a year.
I could see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't I don't put myself first enough to get my own reading.
Well, see, that's the Venus
Aw.
retrograde, baby.
No, I know. I'm always,
Yeah.
oh, I need one, but then I'm like, no, everybody else needs one, not me.
Okay, you're.
Yep.
And
Yep.
It
and I'm the
sounds
one
just
who
like
I
you,
need
Kelley,
it.
because you're such a giver. I mean,
Yeah.
she is. She does so
I
much.
know she does.
So I need to
Absolutely.
start
And
I need
Libra.
to start calling in on all my trades.
Yeah, absolutely. See, and that's a great use of the Venus retrograde.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Laurie, before we say goodnight to you, do you have a piece of advice, or do you have anything that we can think about, until we have you back on the show, or until we see one of your live videos? Like, is there something we can do, this week, just to kind of think about our lives, or the way we live, and the stars, and
Oh my
how?
gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking. What a great question. It's so much to me. It's always the simplest things that are so profound. And the thing about really trusting your heart and making sure that you're being authentic, with yourself, and because I'm kind of really focused on the Venus retrograde, and it's like asking yourself, am I selling out anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And where are my passions? What is it that ignites passion in me, that gets me excited, that really lights me up? And that's where we need to get back to, because when people are coming from their heart and they're doing what they're passionate about and they're feeding their souls, they're doing, we call it feeding the sun. Leo is the sun. You're feeding your soul, then you shine and you have so much more to give to other people, but you have to be able to receive, and you're the person that gives to yourself. Because if you can't receive, you're never going to get, you're never going to have.
It's true. It's so true.
So,
and it's hard to do, when you're in our industry. I feel like we're all like providing a service to help others. Sometimes it's hard to remember to take care of ourselves. I've worked really hard at doing that the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's important because you have to take, we have to be examples of what we're telling other people to do. We have to walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes, but I'll tell you what, the universe knocks you on your butt when you don't.
It sure does. Absolutely.
Big, swift kick in the butt, and you're like,
can you hear me now? Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And just especially, everybody's here for a reason.
Yeah.
Aww.
Well, Laurie, it's just been such a gift to have you on our show. And I know our listeners are with you 100% and just so much enjoyed you being with us tonight. So thank you again.
Thank you. And I'm just going to say thank you to Jeffrey. And I'm really quick. I'm going to say hello to Tanya, who's listening tomorrow morning in the UK. Yes. All right.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you, Joanne, and thank you to all of our listeners, and Jose, Cynthia, Angie, Jessica, once again, Joe, Catherine, Peggy. Thank you all for listening to Seeing Beyond Living Transformed. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, and always keep your heart in the stars and live in the truth, right? Live in your own truth of love and receiving. Okay? All
Great
right.
show tonight. Thank you so much, Laurie.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, ladies. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.